let him tell his own story, but I want to kind of tell it from the iStandard perspective. Many moons ago, we first started the showcase thing about almost 11 and a half years ago. We started our shows, in New York, and little by little started to grow throughout the country. We'd do a showcase in New York, and then maybe somebody from Philly would come out and say, hey, you guys should, do the show in Philly. And little by little, we would grow to these different areas and have reps out there and, just really kind of expand. Eventually, we got to the point where we were doing about 6 or 7 cities a year. And Sha Money XL, who at the time was the co-founder of G-Unit, still is the co-founder of G-Unit, but at the time, G-Unit was kind of in their prime. And Sha had reached out to me and Don, my business partner, about doing some marketing and consulting for their one-stop shop producer conference back in like 2007, I think, 2006, was the end of 2006. And we're talking about 800 people in the middle of the desert in Arizona. When I tell you 800, they had 300 walk-ups the day of the event. They had to actually rent another room to extend the space. But when I tell you there was DJ Premier, RZA, High Tech, Ninth Wonder,
Swiss Beats,
Q-Tip, you talk about the creme de la creme of the upper echelon, production world, all in the same room, just like we are right now. You had Tony Yayo running up the middle of the conference with a big garbage bag saying, yo, 50's getting out in a week, I need beats. You had people throwing CDs across the room, tripping over themselves but the highlight of the weekend, aside from being able to really build with the individuals that were there, and it was very non-VIP, and it's kind of what we kind of adopted here with the Beat Camp thing. We did the one-stop shop producer showcase, which was really kind of our show, but on steroids at the time. And S had come out, and he went out to the event. At the time, we really didn't know much about him. He kind of came out there just to kind of put himself out there and play some music in front of all these people. And there was just something about the aura at that one-stop shop. There were so many special people that came out of that event itself, the 1 or 2 events that Sha had done. Billboard, who did Britney Spears' big hit back in the day with Dr. Luke, Dual Output, Cardiac, and Phases. It was just winter wonderland for producers. It was the all-star weekend for producers. And I remember, S being as humble as he was when he was out there. And this is one of the reasons why I think, doing beat camps are so important. And the reason why we want to continue to do it is because there's not really an outlet where you can go somewhere and have access to people directly in your visibility stream. And this individual took complete advantage of the situation. Talking to everybody, giving out cards, giving out CDs, really using the opportunity to his advantage. And obviously the music was incredible by itself, but there's a balance that needs to happen between, playing your music, shaking a hand, and then what happens afterwards. So S1's been doing this thing for a while. He came out to Beats. We did this event called Beats on the Beach back in 2008, in the middle of the recession. We rented the pool out for 2 days straight. It cost me $40,000 to rent out a pool for 2 days straight in the middle of South Beach. And it was the first time that S actually won the showcase and came in first place. Now granted, he flew out to Atlanta, the one-stop shop, didn't win that showcase. I think he placed second, right? Came out to our Beast of the Beats event that same year, came in second. I think he did another show with us and came in third. Whatever the case may be, he didn't stop doing what he really believed in himself to do. Came out to the Beats on the Beach. Teresa came out as well. It was kind of like a mini vacation / I think he had to bribe her a little bit to come out and be a part of it. But the one thing that I just want everybody to know before we even start this conversation is that this is not something that happens in the span of a couple days, sometimes in a couple years, sometimes over the course of a decade. It may not happen for you. But you have to identify and really define what happiness is to you individually before you really start on your journey. It's always starting with the end result, and working towards that. And S1 is somebody who has always been supportive of us as he's grown in the game. He's worked with some of your favorite artists out here. And the one thing about him that just kind of glues this all together is the fact that he values every single relationship that he ever builds, whether it's with somebody brand new or somebody who's got a position in the music industry. So just want to thank you for being here, man. You know, we love you like family. Give it up for S1, man. Appreciate it. And the whole fam, Vaughn. We had to embarrass Vaughn now that he's old enough to get embarrassed in public. But as just let everybody know, like when you were starting to make your first steps out there, and we've talked about it before, but I want everybody to really understand it. When you first started taking your steps into making this your full-time career, what were some of the sacrifices, the choices? Like, what was your like vision at the time, like when you first kind of started?
All right, so I always say that I was a late bloomer in being a producer, because literally I did not know what a producer was in high school. Like, I didn't know what the term producer, I didn't know what it was. I started musically, I would say, like around 6th grade in the band, playing alto sax. I did that all the way up to high school till I graduated. In the midst of that, I played a little piano at Sunday school, took some lessons, you know, nothing big, but just trying to figure it out. So I knew that music would somehow be a part of what I wanted to do, but I just didn't know in what aspect. It wasn't until I graduated high school and you know, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I started to take, I went to a community college where I'm from in Waco called McLean, MCC, and I got in the music program. So I got in the music program and I met some great friends that I'm still great friends with this day. My man's oneself, my man's mom. Where's mom at? Oh. Yeah, mom right here. So we got in this recording program at MCC, and at that point, that's when I started my group with my cousin. We had a group. We was making music and making demos. And somewhere right at the beginning of that stage is when I got to the point, because when we were rapping, we were just rapping over people's instrumentals and break beats. And it was like, yo, how are beats made? I want to be able to make our own. So that's when I started like researching like different producers and coming across like the Jay Dilla and the Pete Rocks, and just going back and researching and studying what equipment they were using and things of this sort. And so in addition to doing that and then taking this class and us building, like starting to build great music and like realize like, yo, we really love doing this. And I think at some point it became, okay, this is what I want to do. So once I realized this is what I wanted to do, I knew that I had to put the work in. So it was a process of just learning, growing, evolving, a lot of disappointment, of course, a lot of setback, you know, just life and career. But it was just weathering through that and just knowing that in the midst of that, this is still what I want to do, and I just have to make the adjustments and keep going.
So when you started doing our events, just in general, because it's something you were a big part of it in the early stage, what were some of the things you learned early on, either from people that wanted your music or people that would inquire about? Like, what did you learn from that experience, from the people that actually wanted your music?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is that first, it wasn't gonna be easy, because like going into anything new, you don't know what the expectations are, but you kind of build your own expectations. Okay, I'm gonna do this event. Everybody's gonna like it, you know. I'm about to get a placement off of this or whatever. So you have that because you don't know, you've never done it before. So I think it's a matter of that's the first thing, learning that, and then the second thing is I learned how valuable networking was. Like I can clearly say like the one-stop shop after that event, because I had built relationships, and after I was able to showcase, like people would come to me at that point. So it's like I kind of flipped the script, because right going in, I remember me and my wife talking when I went to the one-stop shop, and I wasn't giving any CDs out. And she was like, why aren't you giving CDs? And I was like, I want to wait till I showcase, and then I'll be able to, because that kind of separates me from everybody trying to give them CDs. So after I showcased, it was like, yo, you know, let's exchange information. You got any material with you or whatever? Can you give me a CD or whatever? So that was my whole mind frame going into that event. It's like, so I learned about networking, very important. And to this day, like, it's about valuing those relationships that I built. Like old, new, the top guy, the bottom guy, like valuing all those relationships on the same level, because you never know when those relationships come back, and that's happened a lot.
You also never know when those relationships are going to end too, because a lot of people that came out to a lot of those events aren't making music anymore.
That's correct.
And they either gave up or they didn't see the value within themselves to continue. What made you continue to go? Like when you did face some disappointments or you ran into that little roadblock and on your way there, what made you say, you know what, I gotta keep going, man. I believe in myself. What really struck the chord there?
I think first of all, it was just me knowing that this is all I wanted to do. So that kept me in line. And then in addition to that, I think it was just my support team around me. People around me, like my guys and my wife, of course, and then my parents too. Just them always investing, pouring in me, like, yo, you can do this, and encouraging and motivating me and inspiring me in so many different ways to just keep going.
So, what was your first, introduction to an artist session? Like, what was your first session? What was your first placement? Let these guys know those early things. I want them to understand how much it took to get there. Okay,
so prior to the big records, I was always doing sessions. I had a group, Strange Fruit Project, because I had a group, Strange Fruit Project, that I produced mostly all the records. My crew had groups. I did music for them, so we would do sessions together. So it was a lot of training within those early sessions of my career. And I think, just with doing that, I was comfortable in the studio. I knew and I observed certain things. And so when I got to the point to where I was doing sessions with these cats, it's like, okay, I've already done that. It was just on a lower level, but it's pretty much the same thing I've been doing. So it was just a matter of just knowing that and applying what I already knew to when I got to a certain level of where I was doing sessions with bigger artists.
So let's continue to talk about relationships, because I know we've had this conversation probably 30 or 40 times, but I really think it's a pivotal conversation for especially some of the guys that have never been to